The Wizards has updated the Season 8 document and claims they've heard our complaints and fixed them. Not really. Hello and welcome. Today we're going to talk about the update to the new rules that are updated for Season 8. And first let's start by reading the blurb from the Adventures League Twitter account. Hey all, so the previous page on the Wizards site has been updated. We've been looking at and reviewing the feedback that has been presented, and numerous changes have been implemented. What you see here are the final docs for Season 8 and Eberron. Yes, I'm not excited about Eberron, but that's beside the point. So what are these magical changes? Let's talk about them by complaints that people have had and see if they've made any changes that really matter. 1. Gold. I mean, let's face it. The reason adventurers adventure is to become rich. With the new changes to Adventures League, you are adventuring on a salary. And let's face it, that is the antithesis of what being an adventurer is supposed to be. From levels, as you advance, level 2 to 4, you get 75 gold pieces. I think level 5 through whatever, it doesn't even matter, 150. And each one it goes up, and you get a salary at each level you go up. So people are like, how are we supposed to buy components? How are we supposed to buy things? Because, let's face it, there are spells that have components that you have to burn. If you're a DM and you're not making your players burn their components, you're screwing up. There's some spells like True Resurrection that costs 25,000 gold pieces a cast. No, your spell component bag doesn't magically hold infinite amounts of casts of that spell or any of these other spells that have gold piece requirements in value for components. So if a magic user has spells that have gold piece values for their components, you're supposed to be making them burn them if those are actually destroyed by casting the spell. And there are quite a few of these. And one of the reasons Wizards has even said that they are implementing the lack of gold is to stop people from overcasting powerful spells. Honestly, I don't think it's going to work because most of the spells that are powerful and have component costs where the things get destroyed are not the spells that casters are casting that blow up the enemy. So, what have they done to take care of this and give you your gold? You can trade one treasure point for 50 gold pieces. Now, this does not solve the issue. Let's look at what you're going to get. They've changed treasure points so that instead of one for every 2 hours, you get one per hour. And people are really excited about that until they realize it doesn't help because the original chart where you're getting one per 2 hours, the minimum you would pay would be 4 gold pieces for a tier 1 item, and the max you would pay was 10 gold pieces. Now they've gone to the chart out of Xanathar's where the minimum is 8 and the max is 24. So on the max, on tier 3 to 4, on those tables, you will be paying more than you would have originally paid. So you got screwed by these changes. Now, back to the gold thing. If you're getting a treasure point per hour for the first 2 tiers, which is the way it is, and then 2 treasure points per hour for tier 3 through 4. But let's go back to tier 1 and 2. When you're trying to accumulate gold, let's say you end up getting a spell that you have to pay 1,000 gold pieces for. That's 10 2-hour sessions. So in 2.5 months, you would get enough gold from treasure points to pay for components for 1 cast of that spell. So at this point, you're going to have to really sit back and ask yourself, are these expensive spells worth putting in my spell list if I'm never going to be able to get enough gold to cast them? For example, True Resurrection. If you don't plan on going into treasure point debt, And the way that's going to work, if you look at the document, True Resurrection will cost you 24 treasure points that you can go in debt, like burning a credit card, like I said in the previous video. By going in treasure point debt, you will not be able to buy any treasure or accumulate treasure points until you've played enough to burn that debt off. So let's say you die at first level and you're dumb enough to do a true resurrection because you don't want the 2 days of resurrection sickness involved, or several days, then you would have to play, what, 12 sessions in order, at 2 hours a session, in order to burn that treasure point dead off, and you would have nothing accumulated until that point. And then the only gold you're relying on is your leveling gold, which is not much. It's a pittance. So this change of treasure points for gold is not an improvement. You're still not going to be able to go in and get gold when you adventure. If you find a hoard and there's a ton of gold laying there, it's dust. You don't get to use it. You don't even get to pick it up. It's not there. The DM should not be reading it. So that is out of play. So the treasure points, not fixed. It's more expensive at higher tiers, even though you're accumulating treasure points theoretically faster. You are able to spend it at the same or lower rate than you were before. So the treasure points and the gold, not fixed. You're basically screwed even harder by this. Now, another thing, when they adjusted all this, plate used to be on, for armor, used to be on the treasure tables. And you would be able to buy it with your treasure points. That's magically gone. So you're going to have to, I think it's at 7th level. I didn't run the calculation, but I think somebody else did. If you save all your gold from leveling, you save all your treasure points and convert it to gold, you'll be able to buy your plate at 7th level. So you've been screwed once again. And I don't get it why you would take the plate off. It's not that powerful. An 18 AC is not that powerful. Most of the time, you'll see people using that where they're dual wielding, so that they at least have or not dual wielding, using a great weapon, so that they have a decent AC, and it's harder to hit them. I don't know. It's kind of stupid. Now, advancement points, no change. So you're still going to advance. You're either going to, if you're a slow party, advance at the same rate and possibly tier out so that you're not able to play. Let's say you want to play Horde of the Dragon Queen, you never played it. You're a slow party like that group was, and they took 2 years, 17 months in. Because I talked to that DM, he's like, oh, the stuff they did, they advanced, so I would have given them the advancement points. Now, it's their option if they want to slow advancement down, but I would have given it to them. And so most of those players probably wouldn't have realized what they were doing to themselves, and they would have been level 20 by 17 months, and they couldn't play Rise of Tiamat. So they're done. And they've got level 20 characters that basically did nothing to earn being level 20. Now let's talk about this advancement point thing and the treasure point thing and why I think it's absolute bullshit. I've said it before, but let's put it in more perspective that maybe some people will understand. Basically, what they're giving you are participation trophies. And this isn't me not being kind to the people that want to sit around in a bar and do nothing but level up. This is me being bluntly honest and saying, if you sit in a bar for all your game time and do nothing, you should be getting no advancement points. You should be getting no treasure for doing nothing. I mean, it's the equivalent of you go to your job and you do crossword puzzles. Should you expect after 10 years to be CEO, even though you never did your job? All you did was showed up on time, but did nothing. That's not how the world works. I mean, that's how it works when you play T-ball as a kid. What was the freaking movie where the dad flipped out because they were no such thing as strikeouts with the kids doing T-ball. They're doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He kept missing like 10 swings in, and guys like, he struck out. No, we don't do strikeouts. Well, this team's winning. You should, mercy rule. No, we don't keep score. That's exactly what this is. We're not keeping score. We're not striking out. We're just letting everybody do what they want and rewarding them for doing nothing. And let's face it, that is not the essence of D&D. This just isn't the spirit of D&D. You're supposed to adventure, overcome obstacles. You were supposed to kill the bad guys, save the village, rescue the maiden, all that good stuff. And that's how you advance in level. Not do whatever you want and get rewarded for essentially doing nothing that advances the story. And that kind of brings me to, I had gotten some bullshit response on one of my previous videos. Let's go ahead and read it, and we're going to respond to it point by point as to how stupid this was. This person said, I had to give you a thumbs down simply because your approach to this video is very stagnant. I simply disagree because I think that AL is looking to have people be able to move from one AL game to the next to advance their hero or their unique character progression. The way AL has been has not prevented you from progressing your character in your character progression. Now, I'm sure by unique, you're one of these people that wants to be able to sit around and do nothing and get the benefit of experience for it. So, let's be honest. Your argument that you're moving one game to the next, and that's negated because you still can't go from one hardcover. Let's say you get close to tearing out, but you decide to go play another hardcover with this character. Then you come back to this hardcover and you've leveled beyond the tier level. Like Tiamat was 1 through 7. You come back at level 8. You tell the DM, well, I played Strahd. I got to level 8 playing that. He goes, well, you can't play. You will tear out. You can't move from one to another back and forth and not risk tearing out and do. So you essentially can't do what you want. Under the old rules, you could stay in the same hardcover, go and play as many expeditions modules as you wanted, and level up as high as you wanted and not tear out. So experience points didn't stop that. Let's be honest. You want to do what you want to do and essentially do nothing and get rewarded for it. You want your participation trophy, and you shouldn't be getting it. But that's what they're going to give you, so you're happy. Character progression is beyond any one game, and to have a single game mentality would restrict this player. What the fuck are you talking about? We're playing D&D. It is a single game. Now, we're not saying you can't move from one module to another because that's always been legal, but you're only playing a single game, D&D. Get over yourself. It is a single game mentality. You're playing one game, dude. Grow up. So the character needs to be able to complete the character in the way the character arc determines. That means just because you want the magic item being unique in your game does not mean that AL characters should be restricted in their character arc. Again, let's be blunt here. Ralph Rathier or whatever your fucking name is. Your arc is your arc, but if there's a single item that drops and someone else needs it more than you, they should be the one getting it. And you shouldn't be a whiny little bitch that complains when you go to another game and say, well, somebody else got this, but I wanted it. It doesn't matter. That person needed it. That's been the spirit of the game. That's been what's fun about D&D for over 40 years. The group working together. The group finding that dragon horde that has a ton of stuff. The mage, he gets his staff of awesomeness. And the rogue gets something that's great for him. Let's say we have a fighter and a paladin. The paladin always tanks, and we also have a barbarian in there. Yes, you've got 3 weapons, but you decide, man, the tank needs the heavy armor. Those guys don't. He goes up, he absorbs damage, he pulls everything in. Let him take that. Barbarian, you get this awesome 2-handed weapon. You are now a god with your weapon. And the fighter, wow, you get this other item that will really help you. It was a game within itself where you determined who got the stuff that really helped them while everybody got what they needed. Not everybody has the chance to get the sword, the armor, and everything that they really wanted because they're being a child. And really what you're saying is you want to play like a 2-year-old child that wants to grab stuff out of the cookie jar that he shouldn't be getting that his mom and dad told him not to get. So you've never grown up past that cookie jar period, and you need to grow up. But let's see. It's more about allowing the flexibility to complete their character arcs the way their character progression occurs. Bullshit. What you're saying is it's about allowing them to complete their character arc the way they want. Because the way it occurs is that shit drops, it's given out in the group, and you either get it or you don't. That's the way the progression arc is. You never figured that out because you think you should just get what you want. You want your participation trophy. You want to be able to say, a Sunsword drops, we've got 3 fighters in Strahd, everybody gets one. That's stupid and it's bullshit. One person should get it, and you shouldn't whine about it like a little girl. And excuse me, girls, I'm sorry for that, but he's whining like a little brat. Let's change it. Additionally, didn't really offer any positive insights into the rules changes. No, I offered honest insights into the rule changes, and I see nothing positive about them. Everything doesn't have to be positive. If there's something negative, and that's all that's there where it's fucking the system up, which they've done even more and turned it into a game of, and I'm going to say it again, participation trophies rather than a role playing game based on overcoming obstacles and progressing a story. Yes, there's nothing positive about that. And the reality is, if you worked for me and you were a shitty employee, you would get a bad review and I would have nothing positive to say about you. If you didn't like it, I wouldn't care. I would expect you to turn your shit around or you'd be out the door by your next review. So sometimes there's nothing positive to say about something and you need to get over it. Now, Ailes' reasons for doing so is something else he put in there. Let's talk about the reasons. One, math is hard. That's what I see a lot of complaints. DMs who are math challenged, apparently, and can't scale experience points to larger groups, or can't freaking calculate experience points for a normal sized group. You got this thing called a phone. Look, it has a calculator on it. You can use that to calculate. You don't have to pen and paper the thing. If you cannot use a calculator to do basic experience points for a normal sized party, you shouldn't be DMing. You should go back to school and learn some math. That's what you should be spending your time doing. As for larger parties, because that's a common complaint, our party's so big that we can't get XP to level up. That's a bullshit excuse. You scale the encounters so that they get the same XP. Lazy man's route, figure. Every book is written for 4 to 5 players. Same for every module. If you want to be kind, calculate the XP for 4 players. That's what they're going to get no matter what. Scale it up so the fight remains the same for the 7 players as it would have been for the 4, just as difficult, and you're done. And you already know what the XP is. I mean, that's super simple math. If you want to make it more difficult, and let's say you add 50% difficulty, you add 50% XP, you do the difficulty, run the mental math, or just guess, man, this is about it. You add a little bit more CR to it, and you're done. It's a simple system. They didn't need to do it because people didn't understand. What needed to happen was coordinators needed to explain to new DMs how to handle larger groups. And if the coordinator couldn't do it, they shouldn't be coordinating. The other reason they made the change, we already talked about it. Whiny people who think they should be able to get every item that drops, not that it's, and let's face it, D&D is a role-playing game. It's a cooperative role-playing game where you're supposed to cooperate and work together with the party to meet a common goal. Part of meeting that common goal is to decide who needs what, how it will benefit the group, not have a bunch of whiny little brats saying, I want it, it's not fair. Get over yourselves, and we should never cater to people like that. We should not be letting them dictate how the game changes. The game should not change for the whiny people. They either need to learn to play a game cooperatively. I mean, it is a cooperative game. If you can't play the game cooperatively, you should not play Dungeons and Dragons or any role-playing game that's required to play in a group. I'm going to be blunt about it. It's not for you. Go back to playing video games where you can sit behind a monitor, maybe talk shit through a mic, but never have to actually sit down and cooperate with people. That is where you should be, not in Dungeons and Dragons. Those are the main reasons that they changed it, because of complaints about XP, complaints about treasure, and neither were valid complaints. You know, the reality is most groups have gotten through, and there is not much magic dropped in most of these hardcovers that have played. And if you play strictly a hardcover without going to an expeditions module, you're not going to have a chance for extra treasure, magic items, things like that. But groups still make it through if they're built properly. I think that's the other problem. You get a bunch of munchkin groups together where they're going in and doing the power build of the day, and then they realize that they haven't gotten magic weapons, so they can't hit that creature who is either immune to their non-magical attacks or they only do half damage, and they screwed up, and you don't have any casters in the group, so they go down because it's a group of bad players. And it's a cooperative game. Every table should sit down and talk at the beginning of the season about how the group is going to be composed. And then the group will be able to survive that campaign, every campaign, regardless of whether magic items drop or not. Because you'll have casters that can buff and do things for the people in the party. You'll have fighters that can protect the casters and act as tanks. You'll have everything you need. But a well-rounded party has really become a unicorn. It's a mythical creature that very few people or very few groups build anymore because they're bad players, and we shouldn't be catering to bad players. We should be teaching people how to play a cooperative game in a cooperative manner, not catering to piss poor play. So this is a result of bad play, not of the game being deficient in any way. And so that is why AL has changed, because the player base has become a bunch of munchkins who don't know how to play the game. They know how to download power builds off of YouTube, off of the web, build those up, and then complain when you have three of the same power build at the table, nobody to heal, no casters that can help out or do any area of effect spells, and you get wiped. It's not the system's fault. It's your fault. So, yes, those are the reasons for the changes, and they're not valid. It shouldn't have happened. I don't know what to do, but people need to learn to play this game in a cooperative manner. We did it for years without this kind of crap happening. But again, I'm seeing more and more. And I'm going to blame it on the web, YouTube, and all that kind of stuff, where people put up these power builds. It's the flavor of the day, and every munchkin out there is going to build it. And nobody cares that you don't have healers, that you don't have casters. I mean, my table right now, I keep scolding them because I have a bunch of sorcerers, but no wizards. So we have nobody that can make arcana checks because they don't have intelligence. And there are things that happen. There was something specific this week that only doing an arcana check could have gotten them the information they needed. And nobody had it because they used intelligence as a dump stat. So dumb play screwed the table over. And I've said repeatedly to this table, as I do every table, you need to discuss what you're going to do at the beginning of the season, and you need to have a well-rounded table. If you don't do that and things don't go your way, it's your fault. So I had this discussion every season, every time characters are built. You know, I'll when a new player sits down, I'll tell everyone, have everyone tell them, this is what I have, and I'll say, well, they kind of need to fill this role. It would be good if you would, but then they sit down because they don't want to do it. They don't want to cooperate. And that's not a role-playing game. And honestly, now that everybody's going to be getting magic to bypass the fact that we don't have the proper number of casters, healers, and this kind of crap, it's no longer a role-playing game. It's a video game at a table, and I don't know. Maybe D&D's in its death throes with the crap that's going on, or at least Adventurers League. I can only hope. But homebrew, most people are not going to do this crap, so it's not going to affect you. It's just Adventurers League that's going to be fucked over. But that's it for today. I know I promised DCC content. We're still playing DCC. We're going to play it until level 10, and I'm thinking about doing a Classic Traveler, the original box set with the little pamphlets, and maybe running the Numenera campaign that I've wanted to run, plus some Fate. And my son has something that he's looking into, so we've got a good 3-4 years of different role-playing games that we're playing in our private game that we'll be moving to. But right now it's DCC. The next DCC video will be leveling from 0 to 1. And I think each video I'll do individual classes because, I mean, it's not super detailed, but there's minutia in there that you can screw up. I mean, we've had a wizard that kind of screwed up. He managed to get one spell and he thought it gave him all this other stuff and didn't realize he still had to roll randomly to get the other stuff. So let's talk about that because there are things that can be screwed up pretty easily in it, even though it's a simple system. But that's it for today. Remember to rate, like, and subscribe. If you want a thumbs down, go for it. Like I said, the guy that put the thing up, it didn't hurt my feelings. I just laughed at him because the comment was so stupid that I had to go ahead and remark on it. But rate, like, subscribe, comment down below, and we will see you next time with our DCC video. Thanks for watching. Have a great weekend.